Welcome to the Man Up God's Way podcast, a show that dives into the real, raw, and relevant issues for men in their faith, life, and community. Now, your host, Jody Burkeen.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here with Kevin Downs, having a conversation about the new movie, Ordinary Angels. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to hear the story about Ordinary Angels. But before we get into that, could you just tell our audience a little bit about how you came to know the Lord and how you kind of got into the genre of Christian movies, and just a little bit about your story real quick.
Yeah. Actually started when I was in third grade. A friend of mine invited me to Awana's youth night, and can remember accepting the Lord into my heart as a little third grader, at home alone. Believe it or not, they taught us how to pray the sinner's prayer, and was at home alone, and did it and stuck. And so I went to church with my friend for a couple of years, the third grader. I mean, I look today, I'm like, look at my kids. I'm like, that was pretty incredible.
that was a miracle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a miracle. And so then when I graduated high school, I went to a high school camp, and just was like, okay, now I got to be sort of a young adult. And the speaker that weekend was incredible, and just was like, all right, God, I'm going to give you my life. Just please guide me in what I need to do. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to act, but didn't know I'd actually be producing movies, let alone movies that focused on being a Christian and what that was all about. And so it wasn't for another 5 or 6 years. I was 22 years old. And I got cast in a movie for Youth for Christ called The Crossing. And it was a youth film, 30-minute youth film that was going to be seen in like 70 languages all over the world, and was cast in an evangelical film. And when I saw that experience of watching 10,000 kids at the Anaheim Convention Center just literally come to tears and want to know who Jesus is, through the power of that film, I was like, at that moment, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Forget about the Hollywood stuff.
Right.
This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And there was no industry at that time. Nobody was making, Christian type movies. I mean, Billy Graham maybe, and a couple of independent producers making them for Christian film libraries, but that was about it. And through a process of kind of going through it, didn't have any training, just got to kind of learn as you go. Started to make movies on a really micro budget. and here we are, oh my goodness, almost 30 years later, and done almost 40 movies. And it's just been incredible. I could never imagine back then that, what God can do if you're faithful to what you want to do for him, how he can be faithful to deliver on his promises is mind-blowing, because the doors that have been opened, and how the messages of some of our films, I mean, if you look at I Can Only Imagine, which obviously was a huge success for us, which really opened a lot of doors with our partner at Lionsgate, which has now been our partner for 6 years, to be able to finance and release our movies is just something that's really extraordinary, in my opinion. And so we feel blessed. I feel blessed every time we have a movie comes out, because I treat every movie the same, which is when we start it, like this could be the last movie I ever make.
Right.
And so I treat every movie just as precious. They're like children, and you really care deeply about the stories, and because you want people to really resonate with the stories. And so at Kingdom Story Company, our mission is to tell true stories that showcase the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we've done that faithfully over the years. And so excited. Our last film, Jesus Revolution, obviously resonated with audiences quite significantly. And now 12 months later, we got our next one. which is Ordinary Angels, coming out in theaters February 23rd. And a true life story, once again, that happened in Louisville, Kentucky, about 30 years ago, a 100-year blizzard, and how just ordinary people made a decision to step out. This one woman, hairdresser, how she made a decision to impact and serve another family that was desperately in need, and how that changed the life of not only one of the young little girls of that family and saved her life, but also it allowed the opportunity for this church, Southeast Christian Church, Louisville, Kentucky, to come alongside and for them to be able to serve and be the hands and feet of Jesus in a moment of desperate need, which is either they come together and rally and help save the life of a little girl, or they don't. And it's like, we need an example of how to have the gospel in action. And this story is exactly that. So people will laugh, they'll cry. It's a really entertaining film, but also a film that really has a really great message.
Yeah, it's a great story, great movie. You got the perfect actors, I think, in my opinion, for the roles of each one of those. Hilary Swank does a great job playing her part, and then Aled Richardson obviously is kind of high on the hog right now as far as Meeker goes, and so you got some great actors there, and you guys did a really good job bringing that story together. I go back to, I gave my life to the Lord in 2003 and kind of was trying to come out of, the secular movies and start watching Christian movies. And the first movie I ever watched was Flywheel, I think it was. And then, it kind of goes from there to, Facing the Giants, and then Courageous, which you were in. And then all of a sudden you start seeing in the last 10 years, the finances, I think, started coming, to help the Christian genre a little bit better. And on top of that, guys like you are, coming in and wanting to create really, really good movies. And I wanted to say all that to say thank you for, staying the course and, stepping up in your faith, because, there for a while, it was these movies that were coming out that were kind of hokey. And then all of a sudden, man, it just came and they literally just turned the corner and started becoming really good productions. And thank you for that.
Yeah, no, and how that happens is because audiences, when they go to a movie, they're actually, when they buy a movie ticket at a theater, they're actually casting a vote for that movie. And so I have to thank the audiences for showing up. It's so critical for us to be able to make movies and bring more of these stories in the future. It requires people to show up when the movie's out in theaters, because then the people that finance it, in our case, Lionsgate, they take belief in it and they are willing to take the risk, because these movies that we're making are expensive. I mean,
exactly.
There's a lot of money that's being spent. But again, that's part of our vision, is we want to compete. It used to be 20 years ago or whatever. It's like, well, how come the Christian movies just have this low production value and they don't look very good and all of that? And so the goal was, look, you got to start somewhere. But at the end of the day, with success, we want to be able to compete at the highest level, because we value people's money, meaning you're going to spend $10 to spend a couple of hours with us. We want to make sure that $10 is worth it. And so, so that money goes into the theater, into the production and the making of the film and whatnot. And what's exciting is we have more coming. That's great. So it's like, as the films continue to do well, not only is there ministry, which we're so thrilled for, there's ministry that happens right out of the gate with that movie, Jesus Revolution. The ministry that we saw when that movie was released was mind-blowing. People that wanted to know more about Jesus, they wanted to be baptized, they wanted a relationship with Christ like they saw in the film with those characters. And so that's awesome, because that's only one piece of it, though, because then what happens is the success of that allows us to make other films and other stories and release those movies in theaters. And so obviously we've got Ordinary Angels coming out right now, February 23rd, in theaters everywhere. We've got a number of films that are finished or almost finished that are coming out this year. But man, the stuff we've got in development that's coming gets me so excited. It's things it's subject matters that matter to us. One of the topics that we've not necessarily been able to attack is movies that deal with our country and the military and defending our honor, and combining that with a true story that puts faith, our Christian faith, at the center of that. We've seen some of that in the past, but we've never seen it done mainly because those stories are very expensive to make.
Right.
So we've got one coming that's really unbelievable. So we're trying to bring the best stories possible so that people can be impacted by them first and foremost, but also be entertained at the same time.
Well, thank you so much. Again, thank you for just, stepping out in front and doing this, because, our culture is not geared toward Christian movies. And I think the way that you guys have been doing it, it brings a little bit of the secular into the Christian world, which is what we need more of. And I love, how you went from, I Can Only Imagine, Jesus Revolution, and now this Ordinary Angels. The storytelling behind it is what draws people to it. And, it's relating to the audience, which I know that's part of the job of a director and producer. And again, I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah,
and keep going, don't stop. Don't allow the world to kick you in the teeth and tell you that, what you're doing is not right, because it is. And I think, generation after generation is going to say so. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, no, we tend to not listen to the critics. We're making our films for the audiences. And so if the audience feedback is one that shows a lot of just sort of resonates, our stories resonate with the audiences, that's the direction that, and if those stories are pleasing to God first and foremost, then that's the direction that we're going to go.
That's great. So quick question, then we'll wrap it up here. But you're an actor, you're a director, and you're a producer. Of those three things, what's your favorite?
Yeah, they're all different. So my partner, Andy Erwin, he accuses me of having multiple personalities. I kind of turn a hat whenever I'm doing one of them. I love acting for what it is, but it's not necessarily what God has called me to do time, which is producing. Producing is my full-time gig. Directing at some point, I've directed a couple of movies. I certainly will at one day in the future, we'll get back into the director's chair, but to do that would require me to not produce other stuff at the same time. That's a bit of a time commitment. And so, but I love them all equally. They're all really great. As far as a vocation, I think acting and directing has led me to become a better producer, because I know how to manage those things as we get into production. So, but I'm just blessed to be able to have a piece of the lane as we build these things. And it's a team effort to make a film. Films are impossible to get made. And, it takes everybody's involvement to be able to execute and release these things. So we just have a great team that we work with at Kingdom Story Company, and I'm really thankful to be a part of it.
That's great. I had the opportunity to meet Bart from Mercy Me. He came to our church, actually. I'm a pastor of a church here in St. Louis, and he was playing at Six Flags, and our church literally is right next door to Six Flags. Okay. So he came and did the promotional video before the movie goes out. It was actually for pre-screening. And so his promotional video is sitting up on my stage at our church. And I thought that was really cool for doing that through I Can Only Imagine. But
yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So just a little blip there. I think it's just cool to meet him and then watch that movie blow up like it did. It was really cool. So
yeah, it's really, God gets credit for that. It's incredible. My mind's blown that whenever we see the thousands, and in that case, tens of thousands, hundreds, millions, I guess, if you do the math, millions of people that go out and watch it while it's in theaters is just really humbling. And it shows that, if we tell the right story, that we have the opportunity to make a big impact.
Right. Well, I think Ordinary Angels is going to do that as well. It's a great story, and it's a good miracle story to go along with that. And just the effort of humans who actually just care for a moment and to take care of what needs to be taken care of. So we're really excited about it. We'll be praying for big things to happen. I know this kind of got like a little sidelined because it was supposed to go out last year. And I think the opening night was the same night that Taylor Swift was pushing her stuff as well. The movie or something.
Yeah, she dive bombed on our date, so we quickly got out of the way. Didn't want to compete with Taylor. But it ended up being a blessing because the actors were on strike during that time. And that meant that our actors wouldn't be able to go out and promote the movie on the road, which they're now doing right now. And they love the film. And so, of course, people want to, it helps awareness when you see very popular actors in a movie, especially in a faith film. You can see not often you see actors as popular as these two. And they're out there promoting it on the road and the talk shows and all that stuff. And so we wouldn't have been able to do that if we had stuck with our October date because of the strikes. But we have to we'll send Taylor Swift some flowers and then thanking her for that.
Exactly. Thank her for that. That's great. Well, brother, thank you so much for taking your time through our Man Up God's Way audience. They will love to hear what you're doing and how you're doing it. And we'll get them to support and promote the new movie, Ordinary Angels, coming out February 23rd. Again, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, and God bless you. And we'll be praying blessings over you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. God bless, man. Take it easy.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Man Up God's Way podcast. Visit us on Facebook, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and our website at manupgodsway.org.